is 7 o'clock on Wednesday, August 17th. This is a special city council meeting. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We will waive the Pledge of Allegiance for the sake of time, which brings us to roll call.
Councilman Trump?
Here.
Councilman Shantz?
Here.
Councilman West?
Present.
Note that Myers and Bosenberg are currently not present.
We'll let the record reflect that we do have a quorum to conduct business tonight. Alright. Approval of the agenda. Are there any changes?
There are no changes.
Perfect. I would seek approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Shantz.
Second.
Second by Trum. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. New business. Item A is discussion for the bidding on a new fire department tanker truck. The way this came about is I was on a slight road trip this weekend and saw a department that had one out for, it appeared for sale, and when I looked closer at it, it was actually out for bid. And took in some of the information, passed it along to our fire chief. It turns out that's not necessarily something we want to pursue. That particular unit had some engine issues, and we talked to a mechanic who said it's difficult to repair and find parts. But in the meantime, it got us looking for comparable units, and we came across a tanker currently on GovDeals. It's located in Stockton, Illinois, which is about 2 hours from here. Is a 2003 tandem diesel. It's got 8,000 miles on it. It's 3,000 gallon capacity. Their reason for replacement was that they traded up to a pumper tanker. That's why this is out right now. So, what this has spurred for me is our current fleet. We've got, please someone correct me if I'm wrong, 3 pumper tankers?
We've got two pumpers and a pumper tank, right?
Okay.
Oldest pumper is a 1988 model gas engine. It actually has 2 V8 engines on it. It's super outdated. And the newest pumper is a 2003 Kenworth. The pumper tanker that we have is 1994. So this machine matches our newest fire truck as far as age goes.
And we do not have anything that would get us even close to 3,000 gallon
No.
capacity for hauling water.
We're having trouble remembering how much the 94 Freightliner holds, but no more than 1,500 because it's a single axle where this is a tandem. And it has pumping apparatus on it, which is considerable weight, so probably more like 1,250 capacity on that international, or the Freightliner that we have. So this would more than double the water carrying capacity of anything the department has right now.
It's also my understanding that the 88 nickel and dime us, it's rare that it gets taken on calls because it's unreliable.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
We spent over $3,000 just getting the brakes brought back up to date, and
Yeah, it was
just recently, and it rarely leaves the shop, but it was having problems, or leaves the station, and it was having problems, and it cost $3,000 just on the brakes. It's never run right. The main engine was converted from carburetor to fuel injection. I don't know what happened there, but it has never been quite right since. It is the vehicle of last resort. The department takes it out only when absolutely necessary, and it's usually not to use it. I hate to say it, but I think Public Works has used it more for watering seating than the fire department has used it for fire
And parades.
and parades. Yeah, right. So, definitely the truck in question would be a more usable unit, especially with the amount of mutual aid calls the department gets, because that's what they ask for most of the time is water carrying capacity. So.
And the majority of our calls are medical or mutual aid. So we will be talking, the next item on the agenda has to do with some grant writing. When I initially talked to Steve, they were looking to have the grant written for a truck. And the gentleman who's looking to do that work for us, to get that filed, mentioned that it's extremely difficult to get any grants for a tanker truck. And so, that ask was almost gonna have to be for another pumper tanker, just in order to qualify or be competitive in that grant process. So really, for us to get just a tanker truck, we're on our own, is kind of what I've heard. So this unit is currently, the current bid is $25,200. There is a 12.5% buyer's fee on top of that, so that is something we'll need to be mindful of. But it's within, reasonable driving distance. There were only 3 other units on Gov Deals right now. I believe one was in Texas and one was in Pennsylvania. So that'd be quite expensive to get those back. So I feel like this is advantageous for us to at least pursue and see if it's something that we can use. With that said, I've talked to Chief Graham. They're definitely interested. There are some concerns that it's almost too big, and that others would be hesitant to take it out, but frankly, like we said, the more water the better. That's fewer trips you have to make.
It's automatic, too.
I have, to address the concern about people taking out because of its size, there is really only one difference between that truck and the 2003 Kenworth, and that is that extra axle. Yes, it weighs more going down the road, but it is an automatic transmission with a similar size and horsepower of engine, and that extra axle carries a whole nother set of brakes. So it really, in theory, would drive, and it's probably at most a foot or 2 longer. In fact, I'm not even sure it would be longer than our 03 Kenworth. And so, and I've been around trucks my entire life and owned many trucks. That truck would be no different to drive than the 2003 Kenworth that we already have. Absolutely no different.
I agree.
So there's no issue with that. I know it's overwhelming to think of a truck that hauls 3,000 gallons and it's tandem axle if you're not used to trucks, but it won't drive anywhere.
Is there baffles in the tank?
That is one of the questions that got brought up by, that's one of
Because
that.
if you got
Yep,
water gets a slosh, and why?
Yep.
If you're not super experienced, why you could end up in problems.
I would be completely shocked if that tank, because that tank was never meant to be anything but a water tank. And the only tanks that generally don't have baffles are food grade tanks that haul milk, corn syrup, things like that, because they have to be cleaned so thoroughly. Water tanks almost always have baffles. That can be asked. One of the other questions was venting of the tank to make sure it didn't create pressure, because those have a large, quick open gate on the back. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but on the back of the truck, there is a gate that can be opened quickly to dump the water really fast, right back in that portion.
Is that almost like a chute?
Yeah, it's a chute. So, that almost answers my question. If this has been used as a fire truck for 19 years, it is vented, because otherwise they would have sucked the tank in. That's what the venting is for. You have to let an appropriate amount of air into the tank as you're exiting that kind of volume of water. So it has to be vented. It almost surely has to be baffled, but we can ask those questions.
Would you go to the next photo, the one what's this on the side?
That's a portable water tank. That's the thing you set
Similar to
up.
what we have already.
Yep,
Yep.
we have 2 of those. Yep.
Yep,
We had them out last night or Monday night for training.
yep. And this particular truck just uses a gasoline-powered transfer pump on the back. It's right down here in this portion, which is great. It's really no issue. Some trucks would have a PTO-driven pump, but the main use of this truck is going to be able to dump in one of those portable tanks quickly through that large valve in the back. So probably the only real use for that pump is to suck out of a creek or something like that if you needed to fill it, if that was your best water source. So
This is a diesel, right?
it is a diesel. It's an international made DT 530, which I've researched, and of course you find some people that don't like it, but the majority of opinion is that it's a good motor. It's only got 8,000 miles on it. The only thing that would concern me, which also got brought up on the list of we want to know, is tires. Tires are date stamped, and so we'd want to kind of check into, are you going to have to put 10 new tires on this thing when you get it home because they're all weather checked because they're so old?
$2,000.
Right. Yeah. That's one question. I can't even imagine it's gone through brakes. I ran semis for a living, and you'd go 35, 40,000 miles on everyday use on brakes and not need to put brakes on a truck.
They did say it was stored inside, serviced every year. It sounds like the portable tank and there's a trash pump come with it.
Yeah.
Would you go see it ahead of time?
We can either go see it ahead of time. I'm having trouble logging into GovDeals. We have a login, but, and I can verify this, but I think if we happen to win the bid, we can go inspect and have the right of refusal if it's not something that I mean, I think it'd have to be pretty significant, but we definitely could run over there. 2 hours over and back, 5 hours of investment, that would not be, if I could grab a fireman to go with me, I could run over there and take a look. I don't think that would be a bad thing, to just know ahead of time if there's any looming problems that we can't see from these limited pictures.
Well, you get a chance to talk to somebody over there, and
Well, the other option is just to hopefully trust that small town community is honest like we are, and call them on the phone and ask some of those questions. But I don't know how willing they're gonna be to go out and check date stamps on tires and be as thorough as we might be to investigate, but,
I think it'd be a good idea if we're really interested to take a look at it.
right?
yeah,
Somebody other than me,
Mhm.
you don't want me to go there and kick the tires.
Yeah, yeah,
and to see it personally is better than to ask somebody.
Right.
and you can send all the pictures in the world and you can miss something, so
Right.
that's your prerogative if we wanna advance on this.
Yeah, I'd even vote for a test drive.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're familiar with trucks,
Yep.
equipped to drive, and
Load her up.
Yeah. Well, and some of the Q&A on GovDeals has been about, what kind of suspension. Well, it's got a rubber block suspension. It's not the nicest riding suspension, but it's the most durable, and you just don't have to worry about it. Nothing's gonna go bad.
Who cares? Well, rides, they're not in it to ride.
That's right, that's right. Some of the other questions were, what's top speed? They say it'll go 80 miles an hour depending on load and terrain. Well,
We hadn't better have anybody driving at 80.
right, but it's just, we've already had a situation where the 94 Freightliner, there was complaints that it was so slow responding to calls, they wondered if something was wrong, so we had the transmission service and had an overhead run on the motor. They feel like it's better, but that truck has struggles to reach 60 miles an hour, which is probably fast enough for most calls, but if you're traveling 10 miles to the farthest part of the district, it might be nice if it go at least 65 or 70 miles an hour, in that kind of scenario.
That's
But,
still only about 8 minutes to my house.
yeah, no, and I get it. It's just, that was some of the questions that I'm seeing on GovDeals. Some of the other ones were, the tank capacity, 3,200 gallon tank, make of the engine, 5-speed automatic, the suspension, and they're saying no rust or corrosion except for, some surface rust on the brace that the tank sits on. You're gonna have that in Illinois. There's no, even if it's in the shed every day and it's washed after every call, there's gonna be a little rust somewhere, so.
Inspection may be permitted, but.
Does anybody have a feel of what we would have to bid in order to get this?
so I will say in the last couple of days, when I first saw it, it was sitting at about 17.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it has gone up.
I spoke with Cam Ford today, and most of these auctions have a flurry at the end. He feels like it's gonna be in the 40 to 45 range is what it's gonna sell for, by the time you get to the end of the auction.
The guy and I were talking, I mean, a new unit, we're, of this style, I mean, if we're looking at, you know, just chassis and a tank, with outfitting with lights, those types of things, 200 minimum.
Yeah,
That's how I was gonna ask. What's
So
it-
we know a local contractor that just got a couple of new dump trucks with dump beds on them, swap that out for a tank rather than the dump bed. He was at about 150, but then we'd have to put lights and all that on there, so
put some storage boxes, et cetera.
conservatively 200.
And a fire apparatus prepared truck to haul this many gallons, I bet would be over $500,000, could be approaching $750,000. Like the actual fire truck companies, you know.
If we did get this bought, service life would be quite a while, wouldn't it? I mean, 10, 20 years?
I mean, we have no intention of updating our 2003 Kenworth that probably has 8,000 miles on it. So, I mean, that's the newest truck in the fleet at this point. It's very similar to this one, and we have that's not on the horizon for us. I mean, I could see that 94 Freightliner lasting 10 to 12 more years if we continue to take care of it. So why wouldn't a 2003 with 8,000 miles be a 10 to 20 year service life? But on the flip side of that too, that truck has some value if in 3 or 4 years a grant opportunity comes up and the tankers become a better grant possibility, and you get a grant and turn it into a pumper tanker or whatever, same as Stockton did, you know, maybe it's still worth 40, 35, you know, I don't know.
Would it be prudent to go over and take a look at it to help decide what we're gonna pay for it?
That's the problem with that is you're gonna have to have another special meeting if you do that.
And this ends on Monday.
Yep.
The auction ends on Monday.
If we're gonna go look at it, I'm gonna have to leave early
What time
Friday
tomorrow?
morning.
I believe it was 5:30 PM Eastern time, so 4:30 our time.
Now, is this a bidding auction where you
It's on
can see?
Gov
Yeah.
Deals,
you
yeah.
can see
Online
where it-
auction.
Where it goes up to the last minute?
Yep. Yeah, and that's how we sold our Skag, was on Gov Deals, you know. Yeah, there'll be, and just like that, there was 2 or 3, 4 bids right at the end of a $2,500 unit. This truck will probably see more like a dozen, 15 bids right in the last hour, more than likely. And so we're definitely gonna have to have a number, you know, and say this is do not exceed, and then also consider the 12.5% buyer's premium. So whatever the max number is, we have to back our bidding back down by 12.5%.
So Chris, what does funding look like?
So right now, if we were to go up to 56,000 in a bid, I could split it between general and loss and we'd be fine. We're looking right now very healthy as far as loss option is concerned, and this would fit in that category, and general's got the same amount, so we'd be fine.
Did the gentleman on our fire department have any other questions other than what you've already expressed?
There's kind of a laundry list, but it's mostly truck related, like as in what do the brakes look like, what do the tires look like, in the, you know, the
Maintenance
information.
Sort of things?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
and that's all subjective things that, honestly, I dealt with for 30 years of my life, so if I get over there and get my eyes on it, that's no problem, you know, determining if it's been neglected. They claim they've serviced it every year, and then it got washed after each call that it was out. If that's the case, it'll be absolutely evident as soon as I see it. If it's not the case, then we're gonna have to dig in and really look carefully at it and decide whether it's worth it, so.
What's tires like that one guy, you have any idea?
What's that now?
What do tires run for something like this?
I haven't,
100 or
it's
something?
been, you know, with the increase in fuel prices and stuff, I don't know, cause it's been 5 years now or 6 since I bought a semi tire, but, when I was buying them, they'd probably be in the $350 a piece range. And I'm gonna assume they've gone up. I'm pretty sure they have. I heard of shortages of them, so you could be looking at $450 a tire times 10, because there's 10 on it. You know, you're talking $4,500.
45, 46.
But you
That's maintenance on any truck though, I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
not,
Well, I mean,
I'm sure we have tires in the shop, in the fire station right now that are really out of date. If you looked at the date range on the tires on every truck in our fire station, they would be, according to industry standards, they should be replaced. But yet we don't, because they're stored inside, basically in climate control, under perfect conditions, so they're not weather checked. And so there's no reason to, and if
they
this
move
one
enough
has,
that they're not flat spotted, yeah.
if this one has been in the shed, like they said, chances of the tires being bad are slim to none, because there again, that's you could pretty easily on a working truck get 100,000 miles out of a set of tires. This has got 8,000 miles on it. So unless they've done something stupid to the tires, as far as damage goes, they should be fine.
So Steve might be out of action for at least for a few days. Would Cam be available for a road trip?
I find out, he was the one that brought to me the questions. He was getting most of his feedback from Monroe McBurney, what's his name, Cale McBurney, who is also a Marion full-time firefighter, who is involved with the Monroe Township Fire Department, and Cale actually is kind of like the head of equipment procurement for Marion. So as far as, I'd be comfortable going by myself if I had a list from him about the fire apparatus part of it. That part, there's stuff that I may not have dealt with. As far as the truck itself goes, I'm perfectly comfortable.
Human fire apparatus is pretty bare minimum on a truck.
On
like
this one.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you got a pump? What else?
Yeah, and that's just it.
You got a
And it's a-
gasoline powered pump.
And it's a gas engine pump, and if it's bad, you take it off and you put a $800 new pump on it, and you're just done, right?
I mean,
So-
frankly, the other one we looked at that we decided not to pursue didn't even have a pump, it was all
Yeah.
gravity dump,
Yeah.
so.
Well, so then lights and sirens would be the only thing. We're gonna have to put our own radio in it, because whatever, they're probably already stripped their radio, would I be right, TJ?
I would assume so, yeah.
So then we're gonna have to put our own radio in it, but lights and sirens, as long as they're all functioning and working, that's
We should be able to take radio out of anything we decommission.
absolutely, because there's actually two radios. in it.
Radio and 135,
Back to
keep putting in that.
Yeah.
the motor on the pump, what kind of, was that a V8 on that, or?
No, this pump is just a little like two-stroke,
Honda,
two-cylinder,
like a
18
little
horse
Clinton or something.
Honda or,
Yeah,
or,
okay.
yeah,
They call it a trash pump
yeah.
in their listing.
Are we
Yeah.
gonna repaint the logos?
Yeah, we redo the logo, but that's,
We get a big Sharpie.
you got,
Yeah.
that's $250 and at Corey Cooper's to get it or 500 to get it redone, so. And I mean, you could even, quite honestly, if you were concerned about the thing being yellow and not red, it wouldn't be that much money. I bought a semi before that was white, and I detest white vehicles, and I had it painted. And in the grand scheme of things, if you're spending $40,000 or $50,000 and you wanted to spend $2,000 on painting it red, big deal. You take somebody and have it painted red. Who knows? Maybe Dan McMurrin will give you a good deal on painting it red because he's part of this community. I don't know.
Just gonna throw in my vote that I like the yellow. I'm just saying.
Well, I think we can worry about that later.
Agreed.
Well, that's just that
But,
is
Uh,
you're immaterial.
So, would seem to me as soon as you can grab somebody and get a checklist and get over there is what ought to
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
Okay.
I can call Cam as soon as the meeting's over tonight, because I talked to him today. I know he's not working today, and just get a little laundry list from Cale, and since he is kind of an expert, that'd be, or I could even call him, just get the phone number and say, what do I need to be looking for as far as the, tank and et cetera, so. It is pretty plain Jane though. I mean, you are just hauling water with it. But honestly, that's
That's
probably
its
the
job.
second biggest call for this fire department, is to haul water.
We don't even haul water for ourselves, I mean, should we ever
Yeah.
have an issue?
Yeah.
I will say, so I went to the fire meeting on Monday, and was kinda talking to them, and they mentioned that Palo has similar capacity, maybe they have like a 2,500 gallon, and essentially, they said no one else even needs to respond. If they know Palo's gonna be there hauling water, like, it keeps up, so, I mean, that'd be pretty cool for us to be that service for this area.
Well, and right now, Central City's fire department is virtually non-existent, and we've been picking up the slack there, and so I'm sure if there's a fire in Central City, they're gonna allow us to, you know, or on the outskirts of Central City, they're gonna allow us to fill that tank there in Central City, but you're right, it pretty much saves the day in a scenario like that, where it's a long way to another town, we're almost the closest, so.
See, according to their little paper, they're gonna buy a new fire truck,
No,
357,000 something or the other.
okay,
And that's the city.
yeah, because they're having trouble getting along with the township, right? Is
Right.
that correct? Yeah. So, but do they have people to man it? Because that's been the problem, they don't have enough people to answer the call, so.
Could be, I don't know, I have any idea. I'm just, what I read in the Lynn County paper.
Yeah,
I'd say given the quality, the age, again, as we talked with a 2003, that's pre-emissions, especially on a diesel, you don't have the blue fluid, you don't have to worry about any of that going bad. The proximity, we're going 2 hours rather than 2,000 miles for a truck like this. And then availability, because frankly, we've got a new station, and I love to see us start to pay attention to our fleet and really get them up to snuff.
So my one question is, going after a medical truck like they want to? I know we put it in the budget for this next year. I guess what thought on that?
I'm getting mixed messages from the department. It's something, so I did go to their meeting, they had very few members there. And I think that's more of an association meeting, which was not this week's. But I did talk and they said they've scrapped medical truck. I don't think they know what they want in that regard. A comment was made about a brush truck rather than a medical truck, but it could double. Essentially, I don't think they know what they want to pursue there. Does that not answer your question as best I could?
That's
Kinda, sorta.
Thought it made perfect sense.
Makes you wonder when you got 9 times as many medical calls as you do.
See, that was my only question is,
That's
there's
my
more medical
thought.
calls than fire. I'm just
Yeah,
putting that out there.
But that would just be a pickup, which is
Yeah,
a little easier to come by.
well, I think we could go, I'd have to look at the money, but I think we've got money in.
Right now in general, we've got 259,235 and 99 cents, and in local option, we have 399,346.14.
What about new equipment purchase?
Well, this would be under fire department.
This would be under fire, and we would probably have to do a budget amendment to move the money over to it.
Okay. But I mean, there is money there.
There's money there, we just gotta move it.
So I mean, I guess point being, if we decided we want to get a medical vehicle, we've got the capability to get it. That's my.
Especially, I believe the association was gonna pitch in at least half of that for a medical truck. I don't think this puts us back, if that helps.
No.
Depending on what they choose to do, I don't think this puts us back at all. Really, I think we're ahead if we can get them this truck and get rid of the 88 that nickel and dimes us and actually have a usable.
when sometimes those old trucks like 135 bring kind of a, I mean, it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not gonna be a big chunk of money, but the nostalgia factor, it's old enough. You know, sometimes people buy that as their, landscape companies buy it as their little centerpiece that they haul water to new seating with and stuff and dress it up, you know, things like that, that it's becoming kind of antique-y, so to speak, and hell, who knows, we might get $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 out of that thing. You don't know, you can't count on it.
No, I checked Gov Deals for things similar. Their current listing was about $350. So I'm like, I'd be happy if we got 1,000 out of it.
You just never know.
But again,
for
those
sure.
were not apples to apples, they were just a rough get,
Right,
age range, condition wise, it was approximate, but.
yeah. If you wanted to go to $45,000 bid price, that with the 12.5%, that'd be $50,625. So, just to give you an idea of what that 12.5% looks like.
And you said you felt comfortable at 56,000, so that put us at,
56,000.
that'd put us at like a $50,000 bid,
Mhm.
cause 10% would be 5,000 on top of that.
Yeah. That'd be a good reason to use that lost.
Yeah, we got-
Yeah, we gotta use it anyway, so.
That's definitely a tax savings deal. And I don't think, did you say that the insurance people were gonna evaluate our fire department?
Yeah, that's a separate issue, but yeah, they did already come in. And they have a laundry list of things that I need to go over, create policies and then go over with the fire department. It's just some minor changes.
This is work comp,
It's
not,
workman's
Well,
comp,
it
yeah.
wasn't the regular fire.
This
No,
one,
it's a totally different,
I didn't, I'm sorry, I spoke on it.
that's fine.
it's still gonna cost, it's gonna cost. The injury and practice burden to the underage person is gonna cost.
Well, and then there was the
And some
forklift,
of, yeah,
and then the heart attack, so.
yeah.
It just calls me.
But
Any other discussion on the truck? Thoughts?
50,000 even would be 56,250 with fire premium. I was just saying, just, you
You
know,
know, we think that's a possibility.
I mean, I don't know, the thing
It's
is, that
It's
truck,
as comfortable as I feel, I mean, that's where we have to be, is how comfortable are we? I mean, if we get much above that, plus its age, then we do maybe,
We take a risk that,
yeah,
then we maybe just start looking at new options or finding something else used, but honestly, 50 is about my comfort level.
I would totally agree with that sentiment, that, because you're probably gonna, and at 40,000, you're probably gonna lose the construction companies who are looking for a water truck. You know, just because they're the same way, if they really need a water truck, they're not gonna spend too much on a used one, but since this one is prepped for fire and they'd be throwing away all the lights and sirens, there's a little more demand from other fire departments for this thing because it is ready to go, literally. So that's why I feel like 50 is probably top end.
That makes sense. Especially if we think we can get 15 or so years out of it, why you take and divide that by 15, it isn't pretty bad.
Especially when you have a usable unit instead of one that just is,
Parade use.
yeah,
If even that.
Yes.
Because they break down mid-parade.
yes.
Maybe.
That is a factor that's hard to quantify, is the ability to have 3 fully functional units of responding to a call if something big happens. Let's, heaven forbid, let's say there's a big nasty at the school, you know, having 3 units that can actually respond. I realize there are hydrants in town, but if you've got mutual aid and you've got 6 pumpers going, one of them's probably gonna have to be running off a hauled water, so.
Oh, I know, they had a big barn fire not that long ago out in the township.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of water.
Yeah.
Thoughts from our fire expert? I mean, apparatus-wise, is this the right direction?
I mean, apparatus-wise, I think it is. I don't know, I'm hesitant on it, but, I mean, it's a good thought on it.
What makes you hesitant?
Well, I guess, don't know. I guess I would have to see like what the calls look like how many we need for support. Because then also, like if it's one of our calls, let's say, I mean, you need 2 for the first vehicle to go out. You should have 5 for the next one to go out, and then you would need 2 for this one. So you need 9 people to show up and go. I don't know what, the normal calls look like. I guess that's what I would like to see. If it would be something that would be able, I don't have no doubt to be used. But I guess I would want to see if enough people would be responding in order to justify spending it. But that's just me.
So that's, you think it's a people problem more so than anything else?
Possibly. I mean, I have no doubt it would go out second.
I was just
Or
gonna say, would it
first.
go out second or third?
Yeah, but right now, second or third would be 135. So, and I know it's slow, but I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence on it.
Well, if you get
Personally.
answer me this, if you get a mutual aid call from Central City, Center Point, wherever,
Yep.
on a structure fire in the county, it's number 1. Because your department calling for mutual aid is gonna use their pumpers for the most part.
Right.
So then their reason for calling you is
Just water.
to haul water. So then that becomes the number 1 unit out the door, because it hauls the most water, correct? I mean, correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
yeah. If it was a mutual aid one, yeah, absolutely. I would assume so.
Because you only need 2.
Well, you only need 2. There's probably only 2 seats in this truck. So that's all that can go.
Yeah, you would need 2 to go.
But if you needed, even if it was number 2, even if you took 136, Kenworth, that has more seats, that you can put 5 people in,
Yep.
and then this one came out the door second, let's say you put 3 bodies in 136, and this one came out the door behind it, you still could respond to that mutual aid with 4 people. Would that be,
Well, unless
Or no.
it's changed, it's a minimum of 2 per vehicle.
all right, so that's 2
So-
vehicles, 4 people.
Right.
And I realize that 136 has more gear on it. Totally get that. So maybe this vehicle would never be more than second out the door, no matter what the call.
More likely.
Because 136 has got the SCBA's, it's got all the other
Well, and
gear.
this would have to be fitted for it too.
Well, I'm
just in
sure it
case,
is,
yeah.
because it's got the compartments. So they were using it as a tanker
Yeah.
for fighting fires, so I'm sure that was.
So what's your thought of upcoming expenses on one we have that we want to get rid of? I mean, is that a hypothetical question because you don't know, but you did a lot of stuff to it?
Yeah, well, we did the brakes. There was so much work done on the fuel system, trying to make it more efficient with fuel injection versus carburation. It's not super reliable, sometimes very difficult to get started. It is slow.
Yeah, it is. I'm gonna go for that.
That one actually has 2 complete V8 engines on it. The pumps, probably worse than the engine that drives the truck, which got converted to fuel injection, is the engine that drives the pumps. It's carbureted and has a choke, and this generation that these young kids,
Is that engine that sits up on top
yes,
where you can't get to it?
the wrong people in that truck, they're probably never gonna get the pump engine started to actually pump water. I mean, and it only holds like 900 gallons, so
Yeah, it's not on it.
it's not good as a water hauler. That's why I'm just saying, that thing is so obsolete. Even if this one rarely goes out, it's still better than what we got over
It serves a
that
purpose
bay.
at least, yeah.
Yeah,
900 gallons isn't anything.
it isn't anything, and then you gotta start that second engine to make sure it runs. And honestly, I've been using it more than the fire department has, because it's got that front nozzle on it. I'm gonna miss it, because I use that front nozzle, it's got a remote control front nozzle, and I use it because it's got the separate pump engine. I can drive it down the street and turn that nozzle up and spray water on like where I seed things and whatever, so I'm probably gonna be the saddest one to see that go, just because I lose my grass watering machine, but that's pretty dumb to keep it around just to wash the grass, you know, but that whole second engine thing, I mean, think about it, 2 complete V8 gas engines in that
I
truck.
think when, last time we got it fixed, the big problem was the air brakes. The air went out, and you spent a lot of money fixing it.
That was the last big expenditure was
Fixing the
brakes.
air brakes on it.
And it's a 1988 model. They're, pretty soon we're gonna say, oh, we need to fix that, and they're gonna say, ha, have fun, go to the salvage yard, you know, to find your parts, because they're just not gonna be there. It's a Ford engine driving the Ford truck, but it's a Chevy engine on the pumps. So, there's
So
another.
they're not even compatible.
They're not even compatible. There's nothing about them the same. So,
I mean, the big thing with this is that this one, it's just like the other trucks. You can pull the hood up. You know, the silk cab takes 2-3 people to lift up to do inspections. It is a pain to get it up. I think I've had you a couple times when I went, come over and help me
yeah.
get it up. So, I mean, overall, user-wise, it's a lot easier. I mean,
It's up right now, I don't know if they're having issues with it, or I was
No.
there Monday and cab's open.
so, I mean, by far, it's absolutely better than what, and everything you said was right too. It's not any harder to drive. I've driven large trucks and all it is, that second axle is just holding weight. That's it. I mean, it's nothing, it just looks bigger and scarier.
Mhm.
But it's
Yeah.
no different than driving 136. So,
Well, in my opinion, we don't need a ladder truck, I mean, we're close enough to Marion and those outfits that have ladders and are equipped and trained to use them. We've got 2 pumpers. I think for me, this is the logical next step. It's just water hauler.
Do you have to have a special,
Firefighters don't need
Nope.
a
It's an
special,
Firefighters
exemption.
don't need a special license if you were doing it, otherwise you.
as a firefighter, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I have the license if ever, you know, but even, I think even driving it to service, let's say there is a problem that I can't fix and it has to go to the shop, even in that case, I don't think you need the CDL to
As long
drive
as
it.
you're, well, a city employee or firefighter.
Firefighter, right, which even if, let's say I didn't have a CDL, I just have a firefighter drive it down there and I go pick them up, you know, but, yeah, no police officer's gonna stop that truck and say, hey, you got a CDL?
Yeah, there's training done every year for driving for all employees, or all firefighters. Yep, on all 3 vehicles, so.
Especially in roundabouts.
Right.
Pleasure of the council?
Guy needs to look at it. See if it's as good as we think it is.
Do you, how about this, and just to avoid a second council meeting, how about you approve a dollar amount dependent on my inspection? If I come back with a poor report, we'll have to have a special to say, deal's off the table. That way, we don't necessarily have to have that second special.
At least before Monday.
At
I mean,
least
that-
before Monday,
That other,
right.
if we decide a no-go, we can do that Tuesday if we need to.
Yeah, right.
Because at that point, we've,
Right,
yeah.
right. That way, yeah, right, we don't have to reconvene and hear the inspection report. I can email you all a synopsis of what I see, give my opinion, and as long as nobody sees a red flag, then we're already set. If I see a red flag, I'm gonna say, don't spend the money anyway, you know, so.
This way we can say what Guy said.
Yeah, I'm throwing a lot, maybe I wanna rephrase
What's
it.
the dollar figure gonna be on that?
Whatever we're comfortable,
Are we
up
talking?
to 50,000 keeps us within, we have
And
the
that
funds.
includes the buyer's premium
50,000 bid
plus the buyer's premium?
plus buyer's
Yeah.
premiums, that gets us to about 56.
56,250.
56,250 with the buyer's premium, and you go, if you make the cap 50.
You said half of it would come out of the general and half of it out of the loss.
Yep.
What, is it, once we buy it, it's ours? Is there,
No, I need to read the fine print, I can't get in right now.
That's fine.
But there is the option, I mean, yes, you're gonna have to find it glaring insufficiently.
right,
If
No,
you
no.
buy it and like you're 2 miles from the place and it scatters, I think there's some protection there, but it is like most auctions though, it's pretty much yours when you get it, but there is a little bit of protection going through gov deals, and I'll spell that out too.
You'd be able to drive it though,
I
I would hope.
I don't know, I would call, if you guys decide to do this, I'll call the number in the morning that's listed for information and say, hey, I'm planning on coming Friday morning, if I get there, can I take it out for a quick spin? If
It's a
they
small
don't-
town, I'm sure. I did have to laugh, so the first one that we saw out for sale, we stopped and we're looking it over. I actually know the chief, and it's, my husband opened the door and he looked back at me, he goes, the keys are in it. I'm like, of course they are. So, that's how small towns operate. But, yeah, I'm sure even if you can't get a hold of fire department, city hall, I'm sure would help you.
Yeah,
Illinois does have a lemon law, and yes, it is covered in auctions.
Oh, okay.
It
You
is.
wanna say that a little louder?
Yes, Illinois does have lemon laws, and it does say that it does apply to public auctions.
I'll call gov deals also in the morning, and find out why I'm not able to get into our account that I just set up not that long ago, and then I'll quiz her a little bit too. We have like an agent, so to speak, from gov deals from selling that mower, so she'll be able to answer any questions that I have, so. If you'd rather wait till you hear from me, that's fine, we could do a meeting. It'd have to be,
It'd have to be for Thursday
Wow.
next week,
well, it'd have to be Friday after I
Friday
get back,
afternoon.
and,
We'd have to
or over the
post-
weekend.
We'd have to post right now.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, let's go ahead, I move, we send Guy to inspect this truck, and upon his recommendation, if he gives a decent report on that, we'll authorize bidding up to 50,000 plus the buyer's premium on that, on gov deal. Close enough?
Motion by Trump,
I'll second.
second by West. Any further discussion? I do have one question. Do we want fire department sign off of your report as well?
yeah, I can absolutely send that to Steve, et cetera, Cam, whoever. In the morning, I'll be in touch with Cam and Kale and Steve, any way to say, hey, they voted to do this, I'm gonna go look at it. What do you want me to look for?
You think it might be possible to get one of them to ride with you?
Yeah, they're free. I
I'd
mean,
love it if you would.
yep, yep. They're free, no problem.
Make your own video while you're driving.
Sure.
Get 2 cameras
Yeah.
going.
Yep.
Only if you have someone else with you.
Yeah,
All right, I have a motion and a second. Let's do this by roll call, just given the amount of money.
Councilman Trump,
Aye.
Councilman Shantz, Councilman West,
Aye.
Councilman Boisberg.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we'll look forward to that. All right, second item on the agenda, this was mentioned at our regular council meeting. Unfortunately, it didn't make the agenda, and so I wasn't comfortable having any kind of action on it at that time, so this is just a good opportunity. The Assistance to Firefighters Grant, we're expecting applications to open in September. As I mentioned earlier, the original intent was to pursue a grant for a new truck. That may or may not be necessary depending on the outcome of new business item A from tonight. But regardless, we have many things. So I'd love to be able to get an application in for this grant. We could use a generator at the fire station. If they, again, medical truck and or brush truck, I don't know if those would be a possibility. The gist of this action item is that we do have a quote from an individual, and I may recognize Chris here because he has more information.
It's 1,800 for services.
$1,800 to help us write this. I will say, I glanced at the application. There's no way we're getting it done on our own. It is
a very hard one.
It is quite
That
involved, so,
It was not fun. And I think, haven't we went through Steve for another one before?
That was the one, he's the one that got us the Cascade grant.
The Cascade, yep.
so we are getting a return customer discount because we have used him before. So primarily what I'm looking for tonight is your consideration to contract with this gentleman for $1,800 to help us write an Assistance to Firefighters grant. I believe we have time to decide on the what we're writing for. But we would like to get him moving on information gathering and working with Steve. I was hesitant to authorize that activity without without ensuring that it's something we want to move forward with.
So this would allow him to get the background, everything going, and then decide what we want about the grant.
And there's a lot of, I wouldn't say duplicate work, but there's a lot of, I need this report, but this report's gotta have this in it. And I gotta have the same report, and this gotta have in it, and I need the same report, and this
And
has
you
in
need
it.
a grant writer to know how to do all that, get it done.
It's
correctly.
hard. I think I've done 2 for them, and it was, even for small things, you know, it's a burden. So, using a grant writer is
That sounds
definitely,
like really well invested, then.
and if we get the grants, refunded anyways. His services are built into the
Oh,
grant, so then we would,
So we're only out if we don't get it.
Yeah.
And I don't say out, it's
Right.
money expended if we don't receive the grant.
but if we don't expend the grant, we are never gonna get the agreement.
right.
Yep.
Well, I think we probably have a better chance of getting a grant with this guy. Is that not true?
That's,
I mean, we applied for a few of the Lynn County ones, and so I looked at this one thinking, oh, it's gonna be 5 questions. No, it's not.
It is.
It was 50 pages, and I just glanced at it and was like, oh, you need somebody who knows what to put in what box and how much detail. So correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but all we're looking for tonight is just approval to contract with
Contract for the 1,800.
for the 1,800, we don't have to have the exact ask defined. Again, we can in short term, we'll find out Monday what our, what our direction should be there, so.
I would make a motion that we contract with this guy.
Motion by Shantz, second by Bosenberg, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye,
Aye.
opposed nay, motion carries.
We'll never get it if we don't.
can't get it if you don't try.
Brings us to final comments.
I've got a quick FYI,
Yes.
it just came, well, I got the amount today. The well house 3 and the main control system communicate by radio. The radio at well house 3 is crapped out. I had Tri-City Electric into and Raycom to verify that radio's dead, and of course our radios are obsolete. So has ordered the two new radios to replace them. Is probably, he said, worst case scenario gonna be $4,200 for the radios and to get them installed. But just wanted to let you know that while I had y'all here in front of me, that can't use well 3 without that radio working. So it kind of has to be done deal. So it
We
did.
got that revenue coming in.
The news didn't come in soon enough to be making an agenda item, but that's fine. The bill won't come for a while anyway, so.
Any other final comments while we're on you?
No, I think I'm done.
Chris, final comments?
No comments.
Councilor West?
None.
Bosenberg?
So,
All right.
move adjourned.
I have a motion to adjourn by Trump,
Second.
second by West. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.